Hey everybody, my name is Justin. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I want to give another update on Micron stock as they recently announced their Q1 2022 earnings. Now as I go through this video and get some value out of it, please smash that thumbs up button. Really helps out the channel a lot and helps push us out to other fellow investors, and I also very appreciate it. All right, so Micron's fiscal year does not follow the calendar year. So currently, right now in December, is part of their second quarter of 2022. So a little odd, so just keep that in mind. I personally own Micron stock, and it's one of my largest holdings in my portfolio. So I am very, very bullish on this stock. As an investor myself, I want to make it a point to review my companies that I personally own and I invest in a couple of times a year to make sure that my investment thesis is still playing out and the story has not changed. After Micron announced their Q1 2022 earnings, their stock shot up 10% in one day. The stock is up 13% over the past week. So obviously investors liked what they saw from Micron. Let's first discuss Micron's business, then get into why I bought into Micron, and then finally wrap it up the video with the recent financial numbers and future guidance. Okay, so what does Micron do? Well, they are a semiconductor that makes memory chips. So they make the DRAM and NAND chips. I know people have given me such hard time because I've been calling them DRAM chips. I know they're DRAM, but that's just how it goes out in my head. There are only 3 companies in the world that make these types of memory chips, and in fact Micron is the only company that's in the United States that makes the DRAM chip. So this is a very unique space in the market. When you get a small number of companies in one segment of the market, it is called an oligopoly. That means there's very limited competition in their space. The other 2 companies in this space are Samsung and SK, which are both in South Korea. Micron and SK are the only pure plays in this industry, as Samsung makes all kinds of different products in the market. So why did I first start investing in Micron? Well, first of all, a bunch of super investors that I follow, including Li Lu, Mohnish Pabrai, David Tepper, among a lot of others, have bought into this company. In fact, at one point, David Tepper, this was about 25% of his entire portfolio. The other reason is the tailwinds in this specific industry. The demand for memory chips has skyrocketed to the point that these companies cannot keep up with the demand. The demand was already increasing, but the recent pandemic sped up that even further. This creates a perfect scenario where these companies like Micron can charge more for their memory chips and customers will pay it because they have to pay it. The industry is projected to have considerable growth going forward over the next few years. The third reason I invested in Micron is management. I feel that they are very transparent in their guidance, and they are making strong effort to give back to shareholders. For example, in Q4 2021, management pledged 50% of their free cash flow to go back to the shareholders through share buybacks. In addition, they announced their first ever dividend. Yes, it was only 10 cents, I get that, but management would not make a commitment to a dividend if they didn't think their free cash flow wasn't going to cover these investments to shareholders going forward. I do expect that dividend to increase over time. In fact, the company, as far as share buybacks go, bought 1.2 billion shares or $1.2 billion worth of shares in 2021. So very impressive. They also purchased another $259 million worth of shares in Q1 in 2022. So they are doing what they pledged to do. Okay, so let's switch gears and talk about Q1 2022 numbers now. Revenue came in at $7.7 billion, which beat estimates by approximately $10 million. Earnings per share came in at $2.16 per share, beating estimates by 2 cents. This means they beat on the top line and they beat on the bottom line for the quarter. If we look at the last 4 quarters, the company has beaten estimates for earnings in each of those quarters, which is a very good sign that management knows exactly what they do and they can make appropriate guidance going out into the future. It makes me feel that I can trust them. Now, their beats are not by much, but they are beating the numbers. So does the revenue and earnings beat the last quarter justify that 13% increase in stock price? Well, sort of, and let me explain. Analysts in general were not optimistic on Micron's Q1 and 2022 estimates in general. Many felt that the Q4 2021 numbers were just an anomaly. In that quarter, Micron's revenue came in at over $8 billion, which was equivalent to about a 40% increase over the previous year. Not only that, what was even more impressive is that their earnings were astonishingly 180% higher than the previous year. Many analysts did not think Micron can sustain these type of numbers. Q1 2022 numbers were not quite as good as Q4's, but they were not that far off. The company is also guiding another $7.5 billion in revenue for Q2 and earnings per share to come in around $1.90 per share. Management reaffirmed revenue and profits will be the biggest in history for 2022. This all sounded quite good for investors and hedge funds, so we saw a big uptick in buying over the past week. However, if you've been following Micron, you've been listening to what management is saying, this should not be a surprise to any investor, including myself. In my opinion, these are the type of investments that have the potential to make big gains as long as management executes. For the current year, analysts expect the company to generate earnings per share of about $9 and around $11.50 for 2023. I think these estimates are quite conservative, and Micron has a good chance to beat on both. One risk or potential concern here is Micron's inventory. The management discussed in their last quarterly earnings call that they are seeing an issue with supply chain issues among a lot of other companies in the market, just not semiconductors. Just like their customers are hurting for memory chips from Micron, Micron is seeing some pain and getting some inventory in that goes into making their product. If Micron continues to see these impacted for the supply chains, it could hurt their 2022 numbers. However, if this does happen, I see this as a short-term issue and the revenue will just get pushed out into the future. They won't be losing that revenue, in my personal opinion. Another risk to this company is their CapEx. So their capital expenditures have been quite high over the last couple of years. I expect that to continue to happen going into the future. And free cash flow is cash from operations minus CapEx. And historically, at least over the last several years, their free cash flow has not been that great because their CapEx has been fairly high, almost even with their cash from operations. So they haven't seen a whole lot of free cash flow. However, what's happening is since there's demand has gone for their memory chips, they can charge more money. This means that their free cash flow has increased substantially because of their high increase from revenue and then their high margin increase as well. So their pitiful free cash flow in the past has turned around with all these nice synergies, and we're seeing some really good free cash flow, and the company is returning that free cash flow in the case of dividends and share buybacks. I expect Micron to have their free cash flow flourish out in the future, and shareholders will reap these benefits. The question is when the demand for their products starts to slow down, when that's going to happen, you'll eventually see a pullback on price. Well, that shouldn't be anytime soon, and we certainly see synergies going through at least 2023 right now. With the demand of 5G, smartphones, computers, autonomous vehicles, etc., the demand for memory chips should hold for quite some time. For me, the investment thesis remains the same and nothing has changed. Management is consistent with their message, demand for their product is still high, their margins are expanding, and their free cash flow is flourishing. I have been adamant that stock is going to triple digits, reaching over $100 over the next year. Currently, it's sitting at $94. If everything goes according to plan, I expect to double my money in this stock and even potentially more, but only time will tell. I would love to hear from you in the comment sections below. What do you think about Micron's Q1 earnings? Are you holding Micron yourself? Are there other semiconductors in the market you like better than Micron? Let me know in the comment section below and I will be sure to respond. Thanks for watching the video. If you haven't hit that like button already, please do so on the way out. I will catch you on the other side. Take care and God bless.